The Vikings have made a shocking trade that had buzz in the spring but then seemingly died off until now. We'll hop into all the details of the trade as well as why this happened, as it now sets the stage for a huge signing that this team needs to make. We're going to break down all that in this episode of Vikings Digest, but first, if you're enjoying this Vikings content and you want to stay up to date, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon, especially if you want to help us reach our goal of 2,000 subs before the start of the regular season. And with that, let's hop straight in the first topic of the day, which is Harrison Phillips traded. So out of nowhere on a Wednesday, the Vikings have traded Harrison Phillips in light of what they recently said earlier this morning as far as wanting to make a trade for another wide receiver. More on that in a few minutes. But first, right away, Tom Pelissero coming out just a few minutes ago saying that the Vikings have sent veteran North nose tackle Harrison Phillips to the New York Jets for a 2026 sixth-round pick and a swap of picks in 2027 per sources. And looking at the full details there, where the Jets get Harrison Phillips, the Vikings get the 2 sixth-round picks. It'll be finalized in the next couple of days. Now, initially, this is something that Minnesota fans thought was going to be happening because the Vikings went out and got Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave in the offseason, and there was a lot of question marks as far as where that would leave Harrison Phillips. Now, Harrison Phillips is a guy who has been in Minnesota for quite some time, having played 3 full seasons with the team at full health, hasn't missed a single game in his time in Minnesota since coming over from Buffalo, where he had 2 seasons where he didn't play full seasons, as 3 on top of that, and then he had that first full season in his first season in Buffalo. But overall, this is a guy who brought a lot of production and a lot of intimidation factor to this front 3, really, because Minnesota runs that base 3-4 defense. And looking at this depth chart, he would have been awesome to see him, Javon Hargrave, and Jonathan Allen all together on the same defensive line, with having Andrew Van Ginkel, Jonathan Grenard, and Dallas Turner firing off the edge. That would have been absolutely insane. Now, initially, I don't think Minnesota was wanting to make this trade heading into this season because they had just re-signed him not too long ago and had plans to keep him around for a little bit, despite all the buzz that was coming out saying that, oh, well, the Vikings made these signings. Now they're going to go out and they're going to trade Harrison Phillips because they need the cap space. That wasn't really a problem that they were thinking of until the Rondale Moore injury, until the Jalen Nailor injury, and now Minnesota is in a spot where they need to clear up cap space, and Harrison Phillips was a guy that when you look at his contract, it only ate up 7.5 of the average salary, but he was due for a pretty big payday at 9.6 for this season. So Minnesota was looking at that and looking at the cap space that they had at about like 28 million. So they needed to do something to make that happen where they could have that go up because they need to make another move. So what do? They go out and trade a guy that, yes, they didn't necessarily need him as far as a lot of other teams would say. But if you look around the locker room and look at the videos on Vikings social media, Harrison Phillips is a pretty big glue guy in the locker room as far as one that can keep the team together, keep morale up, and is just an overall good vibes guy. And he can also produce on the field. It's not like he's some backup that's bringing a lot of morale boost to the team and just is there on the bench and on the sidelines. No, this is a guy that's in the trenches every single game, busting his ass and producing a load for us. And he's on his way out. But this is a situation where Minnesota needed to make the cap space happen because now the stage is set. And that is going to take us for our second topic of the day, which is that this stage is set. And if you guys saw Kirk's video earlier this morning, you guys know that the Vikings said today that they are looking to make a trade for a wide receiver. Now, with moving Harrison Phillips out, this cap space, this is from Spot Track, and because the trade just happened, I don't think it's updated yet. So they trade Harrison Phillips. This is going to go up probably about $9 million or more, a little bit, depending on where the incentives were and all the little bonuses and things like that. But either way, Minnesota's cap space is going to be going up above $30 million. And this is coming off of a few weeks where Minnesota's cap space was very, very low compared to a lot of other teams, still ranking about middle of the pack. But now they're going to be shooting up into probably around that top 10 radius as far as cap space available. It's not going to be like that for long because they are going to go out and make a signing very fast. And when you look at the wide receivers still available that you know that they need to make a trade for, it doesn't leave too many other options other than the big one as far as why you would make this much cap space happen, and that is Amari Cooper. Yes, I know for the past couple of weeks we've been saying Tyler Boyd, Gabe Davis, go out and get both of these guys if you want to because they bring the production, and Gabe Davis, he has the youth to him as well. But with Amari Cooper, you get that veteran presence. And yes, he is going to be 31, but if Minnesota brings him in on a 1-year contract, it's not entirely the end of the world, especially if it ends in a Lombardi. Not saying that it's going to if you bring him in. He might not be that X factor difference maker, but he has proven to be that on teams in his prime. He did it in Dallas. He did it in Cleveland as well in those flashes when he was healthy. He did it for a little bit in Buffalo when he got there and had that one game where he just played really great. But either way, when he's healthy and he's fully clicking, this is a guy that is very, very dangerous. And bringing in that market value at around averaging $18.9 million, Minnesota now has the space to not only go and get him, but while you're at it, why not go get Gabe Davis? Why not go get Tyler Boyd? You have the space for it. Maybe not so much Gabe Davis and Amari Cooper, but if you're bringing in Amari Cooper, go get Tyler Boyd, because with all this depth that they need on this team, I know you guys have been hearing me pound this drum of Tyler Boyd for the past couple of weeks, and I will not shut up about it. But at the end of the day, that's a guy that you almost need in this locker room, where you look at this Minnesota Vikings core. Like I've been saying, without Jefferson, we're still a middle of the pack, or we're still like a kind of like middle of the pack, kind of like lower third kind of wide receiver core. But you take away Jefferson and Jordan Addison, we are absolutely in the bottom 5. And then you take away Jalen Nailor, who's battling a bit of an injury and is considered week to week in a contract year. That is even more decimating when you look at the wide receiver core we have. Ty Felton is still a rookie. Lucky Jackson is having some flashes here and there. But both these guys are still young and still having to adjust to the NFL and to this Kevin O'Connell offense. Why not bring in the pair of guys? I'm not just talking about one here. I'm thinking greediness here. If Minnesota is clearing up this much cap space, go out and make it worth your while. Go get 2 receivers, because if Jordan Addison being suspended, you have him out for the first 3 games. If Jalen Nailor is week to week and he's not ready to go week 1, then you just have Justin Jefferson with Ty Felton, Lucky Jackson, and then you also have Josh Oliver and TJ Hawkinson as tight ends, and then you have the running backs. But as far as the wide receiver core goes, that's not too much. That's not a lot to work with. Minnesota needs to have a solution fast, because in the matter of 2 weeks, we saw Rondale Moore go down, Jordan Addison gets suspended, Justin Jefferson is bouncing back from his injury but is still battling through a hamstring issue, and then as well Jalen Nailor getting hurt, all within the span of a week or 2. This is absolutely insane, and now the pressure is really on Minnesota, where if you're trading a guy like Harrison Phillips, go out and get more. I know a lot of people are going to say you could have gotten so much more for Harrison Phillips. I totally agree. Getting 2 6-rounders for a guy that brings that amount of production, absolutely asinine. I think Kwesi was a little bit out of his mind there to take that deal. But again, Harrison Phillips is a bit of an older guy. Maybe the Jets were a little bit pushy on that. I don't know. However, Aaron Glenn is going to have a really good tool to use on his defensive line now with Harrison Phillips. But Minnesota is going to be next man up as far as that goes. And that next man up is going to be Jalen Redmond, coming off of a rookie season where he showed really good flashes. But now he's going to have to jump right into that spot, unless Minnesota thinks that they're going to go out and get another defensive tackle as a free agent. There could be some other ones floating out there when the quotes drop on the reasoning behind this trade and Kwesi Adofo-Mensah speaks out, or Kevin O'Connell or Brian Flores speaks out. We'll definitely drop a video on that, as well as some options that the Vikings could potentially look at if they want to sign another defensive tackle to have 3 scary monsters in that front 3 for this Brian Flores defense, with Vin Ginkel-Grenard and Dallas Turner rotating in and out on those edges. So either way, whether it's going out and getting 2 wide receivers in Amari Cooper and preferably Tyler Boyd, or getting out and getting Amari Cooper and another defensive tackle, I definitely think it's going to be more than just one signing that we see in Minnesota coming up. So very much stay on very high alert for the Vikings to make another signing, because again, you look at these wide receivers that are available. If they go and get Amari Cooper, I'm saying it right now that Amari Cooper will be a Minnesota Viking by the end of this week, because we know the Vikings need a wide receiver. They just cleared up a bunch of cap space, and who's the only guy on this list that brings a big cap hit? Amari Cooper. But I'm saying don't stop there. Get Amari Cooper and go out and get Tyler Boyd, or go out and get another defensive tackle if you're not fully confident in Jalen Redmond going into his second year. Unless B-Flow is fully confident in it, sure, roll with it and get 2 wide receivers. But at the end of the day, you need depth, and this is going to be a year where it seems like we're going to be fighting the injury bug all season. So go out and get some guys that can bolster that down, especially in this wide receiver core, where if you have a wide receiver core of Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison after 3 games, then Tyler Boyd and Amari Cooper, even if it's just for the first 3 games, where it's Jefferson, Cooper, and Boyd, That's a solid trio. I think any team would take that wide receiver trio throughout an entire season and be perfectly fine with that and really be able to produce with that. Where you have Amari Cooper, who is very dangerous as a number 2. Tyler Boyd is another lethal number 3 because he is a guy that can produce a lot of yards and make a lot of key short yardage catches as well. Then you have Justin Jefferson over the top. And then to make it even better, after those first 3 weeks, Jordan Addison comes back. What more could you ask for if you're JJ McCarthy and Kevin O'Connell? Really, there is nothing more you could want as an offensive coordinator, as a rookie quarterback, basically, where you have so many weapons at your disposal and the best offensive line this team has had in over a decade, almost 15 years since we've had a line like this. So why not? Go ahead and do it, Kwesi. You just cleared up this space. You're over 30 million up in cap space. Go out and make it rain for these wide receivers. Go out and get Amari Cooper. Go out and get Tyler Boyd. Or if you want to bring back Brandon Powell instead of Tyler Boyd, sure, go ahead and do that. But I think Tyler Boyd is a bit more reliable and you can bring him in short term. But what do you guys think about all of this down in the comments below? Were you guys surprised at what the Vikings got for Harrison Phillips? Were you surprised at what that they just traded him to begin with? I know the buzz was really loud when they signed Hargrave and Jonathan Allen at the start of free agency, where they were like, okay, Harrison Phillips probably on his way out, just the way that Garrett Bradbury kind of happened, but he kind of stuck around. But then once these injuries happened, it seemed like he was just a victim of circumstance in this scenario. And now Aaron Glenn is going to have a stronger defense as a result of it. But let us know what you guys think down in the comments below, as well as what wide receiver you guys would want to see Minnesota bring in. I know in the last video, Adam Thielen was another comment that came up. Could be a possible reunion, but you'd have to trade for that instead of sign for it. And it wouldn't make too much sense as far as what Minnesota just did today and just clearing up space to sign someone rather than trade another guy. But we could be surprised by what Kwesi does. Who knows? But let us know about it down in the comments below. And I've been your host, Griffin. That's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. Take care.